what I hear you're telling us that you practice acceptance.
Trying.
You might not like that a relationship ends, but by accepting it and grieving it, you open up the possibility for another good thing.
The Best Is Yet to Come is a podcast about dating later in life. It's co-hosted by Tonya Carter, Brenda and me, Richard D'Ambrosio. We're all exploring dating from a fun but sophisticated, sexy and smart perspective. And we're going to be tackling every issue that mature men and women face while seeking love, companionship, and yes, sex. So you can follow us on our private Facebook group and on our YouTube page. Please join us in this discussion about one of the most important things a human being can have, a relationship with a significant other. Welcome back, episode 2, season 2, and you are in for such a special episode. And from Puerto Rico, Brenda.
Hello, hola.
From Atlanta, the rolling hills of Georgia, Tonya Carter.
The red clay hills, but hello.
Those don't look red. I mean, I'm colorblind, but I'm pretty sure those are not red. And coming back, our first guest to do a double, Linda Wajda.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Linda, for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Linda is back because we are still exploring this whole concept that Brenda brought up in December on a couple of occasions, but also on the Top 3 Tips episode, the bonus episode, about how do you set yourself up for success in 2022. And here we are. We're already in the month of February. It is the love month, right? Because here we come. We're staring Valentine's Day straight in the face, straight in the chocolates. And what are you doing to sort of be in the right personal space to let somebody in if you don't already have somebody there? And if you already have somebody there, are you doing things consciously or unconsciously because you haven't healed? So that's the discussion for this episode 2. And it may get a little deep today because that's the kind of work that Linda helps her clients do. So Linda, before we jump in, once again, describe to people what it is you do.
Sure.
How is it sort of reach certain limits, because you're not a clinical psychologist, but you work with clinical psychologists if people both need your work and maybe some deeper work. So why don't you go over that first?
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. Thank you for having me.
You're going to be back again and again and again. I realize that. You're stuck with us.
Psychologist is way above my pay grade. I am a professional coach. So I graduated from the Institute for Excellence in Professional Coaching. And I also am a pastoral care specialist. And then I did additional work with the Gottman Institute for making coupleships work, and also for partner betrayal trauma. So I work a lot with people who have experienced relational trauma. And a lot of my clients are currently in therapy. And then I help work on other aspects of what's going on for them. Maybe it's understanding and implementing what they're learning about themselves and what they want to change in therapy. And then some people just enjoy coaching. So, not every situation is so dark or deep. Sometimes we just want a little boost to get unstuck or to grow. So I kind of do all of that.
We can find you where on the internet?
Sure. My business is onebraverlife.com.
And you just launched a beautiful Parallax website. I was admiring it the other day.
Gorgeous. That was
nice. Thank you so much. So thank you.
You can also find Linda on social media.
Yes, on Instagram, One Braver Life. And then also I have a business page on Facebook, One Braver Life Coaching.
Right. So if anybody here is listening and, she does operate remotely. So if you are not in the general geography that Linda lives in, no, she can still work with you. So please contact her at any time through any of those channels, and she'd be happy to set up an appointment. So, Linda, we left off in the last episode. We were talking quite intensely about our own personal experiences with dating partners. And one of the things that struck me in the conversation, and I actually posted about it on my private Facebook page, my personal Facebook page this week, and I got a couple of reactions from people. It definitely touched a nerve, is this concept that sometimes we're not even aware of what we are projecting out to the universe, and whether we're in a relationship with an individual who's trying to interpret it, or as Brenda has positioned it since December, how you're projecting yourself through your profile and your online app, through those first couple of chats, when someone says they like you on Bumble or Match.com. In your experience, is there a balance of people who are conscious of what they're saying and doing and people who may not even be aware of it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think definitely. And that varies so much by individual. Like Richard, something I know about you that you've shared, really all of you have shared and been so open about being growing people. Well, not everybody wants to grow, right? So our level of true awareness is really related to how curious we're able to be and how much we can sort of look at ourselves without judging ourselves. And not everybody wants to do that or can do that. And in fact, I'm sure myself, I have things about myself. I call it peeling the onion. I just want to be a growing person the entire time I'm here on earth. And I think that's just the normal part of the human experience.
So Brenda and Tonya are both nodding their heads. Guys, from your side of the gender, do you find that men are self-aware of a lot of these things? Do you have those kinds of conversations where you're pointing something out and the guy volunteers? Wait a second, where did that come from? You're right. How often does that happen for women, that you feel like men are conscious of what they're saying and doing? I'm not expecting.
It happens if the guy is a friend and there's no dating, there's no sex. He's looked like my good bro, and the guards are down, and he can just say this. Yeah. I've had several male friends over the years who would say, I can say things to you that I cannot say to my wife, my girlfriend, my whoever. And I don't think it's because the wife or girlfriend is not receptive. I think it's more them guarding themselves and some of their emotions, because they don't want to put all of it on the table and be so vulnerable. That's just my Psych 101 class coming out,
Thank you, Freud.
That resonates so much, what you're saying, Tonya, because I think I don't know, that goes to the idea of gender roles. I don't know if that resonates with you ladies. Like, one thing I've had to sort of clean house in my own life is the idea, we say we want men to be vulnerable, but we can be really threatened as women when a man displays vulnerability or cries or does something that we would stereotypically cast as weak. Right? Like we want the manly man, but also the vulnerable man. And I think men are a lot of times, especially of our generation, are conditioned to not be so open with that stuff.
Reminds me of the Brene Brown story. She tells that story all the time about being, I think maybe her husband and her were going for marriage therapy. And she said something, and she said this publicly on many occasions. And she said, I think it's actually in one of her books as well. She said to the therapist, well, I just wish he would share more of his feelings. And he looked at her and he said, are you really ready for me to? Are you, the therapist, the clinical researcher on relationships, are you really ready for me to be vulnerable? He said, because I've seen instances where it seemed to get a different reaction out of you, that you weren't necessarily comfortable with me being vulnerable.
I just find that it's been true in my own experience, right? Be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. And I come from a generation of women. I'm going to be 57 in March. And I come from a generation
in August.
Yeah. So I come from a generation of women. I grew up with he's going to take care of you. And so there was so much I had to unlearn in order to have the capacity to be healthy in a relationship.
Yeah. And how much of that, Linda, do you look back now and say, I was operating unconsciously. I was just kind of doing it because it was the way I was taught. Or were you aware at the time, oh my God, look at what I just said or did. Boy, I've got to step back and correct that.
I don't know about you folks, but I didn't get that till my 40s or 50s. Right? When you're in your 20s, you're just having fun.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So guys, I asked Linda to ponder a question, and I'm going to put it from my own perspective. Because this is always one of the things that I've struggled with as a dating person is sometimes I look at my own reactions and the reactions and words of these dating prospects. And I wonder how much of the truth of what they were saying and doing I have converted into something different in my head because of my life's experiences. So someone may, a woman, in my case, a woman would say something. And instead of me saying, I'll take an example, a woman who I buy flowers for, and I thought that when I brought them to her, she didn't swoon that I brought flowers. And so maybe from my perspective, let's say I have esteem issues and I'm wondering, oh my God, did I do something wrong? Did she not like flowers? Does she think I'm trying to be the man and she's not really looking for that? That I would come with my perspective and destroy the actual truth, which was she was just a little taken aback because she wasn't expecting them. That's all. It was just surprise. And I was asking Linda, as someone who tries to work with couples and again, not as a clinical psychologist, how much of the way we think through our biases do we misinterpret what the other person's saying and doing? And how much of that's because we have healing still to do?
Who wants to take that?
I don't know. I didn't know if you wanted her to do a backflip for the flowers. I'm going, fuck his flowers. Thank you. Shit.
Wait a second.
I buy myself fresh flowers all the time.
So if I got you, what was the name of that company that you like on Sunday mornings? Oh, if I got you sirloin tips and eggs on Sunday morning, would you do a backflip for that?
Food is totally different. Like you get the whole booty dance and everything when you leave. Drop my food.
The sirloin tips and the eggs.
That's a whole butt clapping dance there. But the flowers, you're going to say thank you and give you a hug. And because it's a nice gesture. But I guess my question to you is, what did you expect her to do?
I'm not giving a personal example. I have not had that experience.
No, I'm just saying,
yeah.
As you said, it was going to be obtrusive. What do you think the man would have expected?
I don't know. I guess I could see a scenario where a man thinks that her love language includes acts of whatever. And here he completes the act.
Yeah.
And he didn't get the response. And now he's a little confused and wondering, maybe I've totally misread this lady or something. I don't know.
Maybe I should have asked before I did it, right? Like you can't be aware. You can't expect. How do I phrase? Hold on, my Spanglish is coming through. How can I expect you to be aware of something when I'm not even aware of it myself, right? Like, in order for you to bring it back to the initial subject, right? Like, if you are working in your spirituality and your emotional health, this other person can't recognize that unless they're doing the work. I feel like they're not doing the work themselves. If they've never broached the subject, if they never sat there to think about their healing, how can you expect them to acknowledge your healing or to pause and think about your healing and the effects of, cause and effect of past trauma, right? Like, they're not aware.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I think it's just a lack of communication. She could have really liked the flowers, and because you were expecting more, and by you is whoever the man is, was expecting more, he didn't recognize her thankfulness, her gratefulness, if we're going to go ungrateful. He didn't recognize how grateful she was because she gave her sincere response, not the response that he expected her to give.
And just to go a little bit deeper on that, she doesn't know that maybe you have a past trauma around.
Right.
That my ex-wife never appreciated bringing flowers.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. She doesn't know this. So now your reaction, you're kind of a little disappointed, and she's confused because she's like, I'm not sure what the expectation was because she wasn't aware of it.
Right.
And see, in my world, we just started a whole argument.
Right.
Because I'm like, why you tripping? I mean, damn. You spent $15 on these flowers. What you want me to do?
Wait a second. They were $29.99. Damn
all right. You know what? So here's me. Because
they're not grocery store flowers, Tonya.
I'm going to get my wallet out and give you $39 because I want to make sure you got all your money back. So when I give you your flowers on the way out the door, you understand.
To include your gas money.
I got to unplug. Yes, exactly.
Do I get the vase too, or did you put it back in the plastic?
Now we have a whole argument going.
I'm just like watching all three of you. So is it all right if I share an observation? Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I guess the way I look at it is we all have a pair of glasses. You know, that's the way we see the world. And that's our personality, our lived experiences, how we've been conditioned by the culture. And a lot of times our thoughts and feelings and behaviors, that's just decades of conditioning. And it takes time to unpack that stuff. And we want to be careful not to pathologize it, right? Like everybody's got something. And so I call it our Whoville. So your Whoville is your rules of life for the way the universe operates and the way romantic relationships operate. So, Rich, if you have one Whoville and the person you're dating has a different Whoville,
it's up on Mount Crumpet.
There we go.
She's the Grinch.
You can have, oh my gosh, there's a whole field there for exploration, right? And it doesn't have to be pathological. It can just be the fun of getting to discover who one another is.
Yes.
So, and only you know what the deal breakers are for you. And so, it's kind of like the way the universe works. Like some people have an issue if they've been hurt in the past, their trauma leads them to believe, you know, all men are crummy or all women are crummy or why bother? I'm just going to get hurt. And that's what good coaching can do, is help you identify which thoughts where you're tripping over yourself. If you truly have trauma, you know, that's in your nervous system. That's encoded in your brain and in your nervous system. And you're going to need more help than what I'm able to provide, because you need someone who can help you recondition your nervous system. So, but there, you know, there's a lot that you can learn about yourself. Just what are your rules you're operating with in the world? What's your Whoville?
It's when I hear you guys say these kinds of things, because I'm a linear thinker, and to me, if I want to get to what Brenda said, Tonya said, it's all about communication. I reverse engineer it, because I guess even though I'm not an engineer, my brain works that way. Okay, but to communicate clearly and honestly, what does that require? It requires trust. How do you build trust? Well, you're going to have to take some risks and open up and be vulnerable, you know, and it's like all of these interim steps that are maybe happening simultaneously, and maybe you're slipping back on one, but moving forward on the other. It just always feels so complicated to me, Linda, of getting to Tonya's point of, well, so much of it's about communication. Is there one important step that helps build the trust, helps build the vulnerability, helps build all of those other things so that you can even start walking that path to communication.
There we go. I'm in for that. That is fine.
We're sending you to Linda Wajda. She's got the secret.
This is it. Oh, that was a book. Remember that book?
Yes, The Secret.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh man, how do I want to answer that? Can I push at you a little bit because you and I are friends?
Please
Is that okay? All right. I just would humbly observe. I think maybe you're overthinking it a little bit.
I overthink everything. So
okay.
You're spot on.
So communication is not like chess, right? So when we've been hurt, especially like if we grew up with hurt, if we have gotten out of a painful relationship, if we've experienced being betrayed, or we struggle with anxiety or struggle with depression, we're going to have natural defenses up, and everybody needs some level of defenses. So we don't want to have a wall, because a wall is going to keep out the good stuff as well as the bad stuff. So what I tell clients is we want to have like a screen door over our heart so that the good can come in, but the bad has to stay out, right? So communication, it's not like chess. It's like a game of tennis, right? It's really, that sounds cliche, but that it is really that simple.
You're saying you're hitting the ball over to the other person,
and then you just see what she does or he does.
And you're reacting and seeing how hard did they hit it, where did they hit it, and you're interpreting their responses.
I would try to the best of your ability to let all that go, whatever meaning is there, and just see I know that, you're very deep with your spiritual practices, Rich, and in the Buddhist tradition of just truly, truly being present in the moment. That's the root of empathy and connection. It's not the analysis and the interpretation. Some of us do that more naturally than others. A lot of women, that just is easier for us because of how our brains are wired. You said you're a linear thinker. So that your mind might naturally want to analyze that. So it's not that you're doing something wrong.
Oh my God, I'm abusing her. I'm just abusing her with that linear thinking. Brenda?
She's got a good smile. He's got something.
No, I agree with you a little bit, Linda, that Richard tends to really, really make this complicated. I think I could not give you a better response, and I agree with you. I mean, you kind of have to, in my world, I feel like you have to kind of chill out a little bit, chill back a little bit and just not overthink it, because I feel like if you notice, right, if you see how if you're so aware of yourself that you notice why you're reacting the way you do, if you've communicated with this person, then you wouldn't be as surprised. You're like, okay, I know exactly why I'm thinking this, why I am driving myself crazy with these assumptions, but she doesn't know it, or she does know it. You guys have a better understanding of it. And so then your expectations are a little bit lower, and you don't have to overanalyze it, So I'm just trying to like simplify it, just simplify, bring it down a little bit. And, but I think that it just needs to go back to, okay, what have you guys discussed about this? What does she know about this? Right? Like if she doesn't know, you're going to constantly continue to hit that wall. And it's like you're playing tennis with yourself. You're just hitting the ball against the wall or something, because you don't have that other person that understands what the past was like and why you're reacting the way you are.
And we can feel like Brenda just said, because that's such a great insight. And I just appreciate that so much. And, if we are getting into playing mental chess with our partner, our dating partner, right? That can be an unconscious way of trying to stay safe, because we think if we can understand what's going on, then we have the illusion of control. And then somehow we can prevent what happened to us the last time. And it's just like Brenda said, if you're that conscious, then you're not able to really be present for what's happening.
Okay, so I'm writing this down. Stop being overconscious.
But the overconscious, how do you know, right? Some people can stop being overconscious. If you have trauma, you have a great reason to be overconscious, right? And you can't just choose to stop having trauma, right? You have to retrain. If you're having that level of consciousness, there's a part of our brain in the back called the amygdala, and that's your fear center. So if your fear center has been conditioned to start to be active when certain things happen, and for people with trauma, it can be a facial expression the other person gives us. It can be a memory that comes back to us. It can be a whole lot of things that are just not that obvious. And that's incredibly common. So it's being able to be present and learn and discern when you're really in danger or not is part of the healing.
So in Richard's defense, I'm an overthinker too, and we can't turn it off.
You don't have to defend it. No,
I'm defending overthinking.
I didn't feel like they were. That's why I don't need to be defended.
No. Defense is not like we running after you with, lit
pitchforks.
torches.
I'm Frankenstein,
But
and you're coming after the villagers.
You were putting yourself out there, and that is truly honorable and brave to let us.
I don't want to say being an overthinker.
But I'm
a recovering overthinker.
See,
I need to hire you.
I need to have I'm an overthinker. So I always tell everybody the best way to deal with me is just say it. I need a flip chart, a whiteboard. I'm going to need 1 through 8. We're not playing tennis over here. We playing volleyball. Okay. We hitting it, we spiking, we digging. And the only way I'm not going to slam that ball across the net and into your chin is if you have to be upfront. Do not, I just overthink everything, and I like to read and write books. So you do not want my imagination to get started. Because I really, at 52, I have learned to reel myself in, and I have to coach myself like I'm my best coach. It's like, okay, listen, this doesn't sound right. Maybe you're acting a fool. Just calm down. That doesn't sound right. Okay, make a note of this because this doesn't sound, but you're not going to act a fool about this today. You're just going to listen to this. You're going to follow the way. Don't say anything. And then here I am. That shit doesn't even make sense. Look, I even when I'm coaching myself, I just stop and snap. Like, you're not going to do this.
But you're doing a good job of coaching yourself. That's good.
But I'm literally coaching myself when I'm speaking to someone, even in regular relationships, because my mouth, God help it, I just say anything. And so I'm coaching myself like, don't say everything you're thinking. Because for so many years, people said what they wanted to say to me, and I would be like, well, next time I see them, I'm going to say this, the next time. And so one day I was like, the hell with this. I'm just saying everything that I think, and that's not any good. So now at 52, I'm coaching myself. You don't have to respond to this. You don't have, and especially in relationships, because I'm looking for the lie. And back to psychology, what Linda's saying, I was raised to always have your own. Don't depend on a man. You don't need anybody for anything. Let this person know that, listen, I got everything I need. And I had a strong dad, and I have a strong mom. And coming from 2 strong people who are saying, this is what you expect. This is what you don't accept. This is what you do. And seeing my dad not only speaking it, but doing it. So it's hard to say that, okay, this is not your dad. This is what he said, but in theory, this is not happening. And it can happen, girl. You got to reel yourself in and stop being crazy. You got to, don't overthink it. And if you are overthinking, don't react. That's the one thing I have to tell myself is, Brenda's nodding her head like, yep. I'm saying don't react. Just stop, listen to it, wait to see if this is the truth. And if it is, just let it go. if it's the truth, embrace it. If it's a lie, just let it go. Don't even react. So I'm learning not to. I'm a work in process. I'm still learning.
I want to ask a follow-up question to what Tonya just said. How many of you have been in a relationship where you did react, and because it was an important enough topic and maybe the both of you had some kind of trigger going on, it really injured a relationship? Have you ever been in that situation where like a day later you go back and you're like, oh my God, if I hadn't been so reactive, taking a breath and pause, like Tonya just said, and didn't assume some things from that person's comment, therefore I didn't have to say what I said, I wouldn't have had that falling out with that person. Have you ever had that, either business or personal relationship, guys?
All the time, but I'm quick to apologize. I'm going to be the one who comes back and opens the conversation. Richard, I said that the other day. This is what I said. This came out wrong. I replayed it in my head. I was 100% wrong. How do you feel about that? Let's talk about this, and I'm sorry. And I'm
God, you are such an evolved person. I don't know that I've got that capacity.
I would do that, seriously. I don't have a problem, And my friend always says, I'm a Libra. We're the peacekeepers. We don't want anyone to be upset. I don't want anyone to be angry. And that, here it is. I don't care if you're mad. But if I've said something, I don't want your feelings hurt because I've said something to you.
Brenda?
Oh, no. Yeah, I did that in my younger years. So I don't know if we should talk over 40. I'm trying to do better. I've learned. But, I think when you mentioned that, the first thing I thought about was, my ex-husband, right? Like some of our differences in opinions about important subjects, led to conversations where it was permanently damaged because of certain ways that we saw things, and then we were not willing to back down or agree or come back and say, I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you're saying that, and I apologize. So that was a hard lesson I had to learn, and clearly, the relationship paid for it. Spanish is intransigencia, meaning where you just can't transact. Like you just come at a standstill. I guess that's the right word, a standstill.
Like an impasse.
Yes, there you go. Yes.
It's so easy to find yourself in that hurt place and dig your heels in. It's so easy to get there.
It's hurt or be hurt, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, let's talk about that's a good Whoville. Hurt or be hurt. The spotlight coming on Tonya.
Oh, good.
No.
I'm gonna turn my ring light off. I'm done.
That's a great example.
That's not my personality, but it can be. But go ahead.
But no, that's like a great. Like we all have rules of life, right?
Yeah.
Right. So hurt or be hurt. That's a belief.
Yeah.
So if that's your belief, hurt or be hurt, then what action do you take as a result of having that core belief about relationships?
I definitely saw that in a very significant long-term relationship that I had not too long ago, where I'm pretty sure the reason why it came to an end was the hurt or be hurt decision on the other person's part. They just had to get out in front of that so they could be the one who did it. Yep.
Yeah. So,
I've dealt with that with trauma from childhood with abandonment issues, right? And so when I was younger, I would always be the one to leave a relationship because I didn't want to be the one left. And so either I will sabotage the relationship or I would just be the one to say, you know what, I'm ripping the Band-Aid.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Did you ever regret that, Brenda? Did you ever leave a relationship you wish you didn't leave?
No, not really. I try not to have regrets over things that I've done. I think at the time, there were huge lessons, and it wasn't until I was much older than I realized that I had this pattern of thinking and this pattern of hurt,
That's really powerful. So
Yes.
just to be able to recognize patterns that aren't serving you
Yes.
and to be able to release them. And I loved last week when you guys were talking about the idea of you had your list and you were clearing people off your list.
Oh, yes.
That was Brenda's exercise. Yeah.
Yes. That cord cutting exercise. I tell you, it was life changing. And it sounds so big. But now that I am a few weeks removed from that exercise, I can tell you that relationship with my ex-husband, as an example, which was the most impacted with that cord cutting exercise, it has completely changed.
Oh,
I am
good news.
I am. I think I was hanging on for some reason. I thought that I must be his friend. We must be friends in order to co-parent. And what that was doing was it was getting in the way of me completely healing and moving on.
Okay.
And that cord cutting exercise is just, first of all, I realized that I didn't realize I had so much rage still. And I let it go. But then even the conversation with him is like, you know what? I don't have to be your friend to co-parent correctly or enough for my child. We can be co-parents. You can live your life and I can live mine. And now I give myself permission to move on without any guilt or any whatever,
That is so powerful to be able to curate your life in that way intentionally and to recognize something. Like in your Whoville, you had that belief that we had to be friends, and then to let that go, right? And to be able to release that into the universe or to the God of your understanding, and then define your role and goal in light of releasing that. That's really powerful.
No, that was I didn't think much of it, but it ended up being that, wow, this was really, really powerful. I just thought it was, I'm just going to read these things, and manifest or visualize and do this exercise. And it blew me away. I did not expect that reaction. It took me a couple of days to get through that one part of the exercise. So
I'm going to be really curious, Brenda, to see if you start dating intentionally anytime soon, whether or not that cleansing process triggered something. I don't want to use the word magical, but I think you get what I mean, that all of a sudden that car wasn't sitting there in the garage anymore and you had space for the new truck. I'm really curious to see what happens now.
We'll see. I am open to what the universe is going to bring me. I know I've done the work. I'm doing the work, and it has to work, right? I believe
it has to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's a principle, right? Like sometimes you'll hear people when they talk about God. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's easier to believe in God and then maybe find out later that you were wrong than not to believe in God and then to find out all along God existed. And that same principle applies in our lives. Would you rather believe that things are going to go well and then maybe discover some difficulty along the way? Or do you want to go through life believing life doesn't work out and then discover you missed everything?
Wow.
I don't know which one's better. I really don't know, because the disappointment later on versus all those years wasted with misperceptions. But then something magical happens and saves the day. I don't know.
I'm going to try and believe, I believe that we're where we're supposed to be. Yes. And that the things that we've gone through, we've had to go through. And I cannot remember the author, but it might be Maya Angelou. It could be someone else. But, all my experiences have brought me beautifully here. And I don't know in my life or in your life why any of us have to go through certain things and why we all learn lessons in different ways at different times. And no matter how much we understand, there's still no safety. We have to create that within us.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite country music songs is by Rascal Flatts. God bless the broken road that led me back to you, I think. And all those broken roads, all those difficulties, but I had to drive those roads or walk those roads to get to you.
But the problem is, Rich,
yes.
Do you believe along the road? Do you believe that there's something better? Or do you believe that broken road is how life is supposed to be?
So I am the eternal optimist. And so I'm the person who has always looked at the broken roads and said, there's a lesson here. Not always. I'd say in the last 10 to 15 years, I've developed that perception or the ability to see the world that way. And I certainly am a lot stronger at it today than I was 12, 15 years ago. But yes, I agree with you. I think, and maybe that gets a little bit more to what you guys were telling me before, which is if you're present in the moment, and this is where my Buddhism comes in. You say, I'm having a difficult time right now. I broke up with my girlfriend. I feel low self-esteem. What did I do wrong? I'm challenging myself. I'm beating myself up. I'm angry at her or whatever. If you are so caught up in those moments, not just saying, no, this relationship ended. It's not a failure. This relationship ended. It's a part of the broken road. Do I know what comes next? I don't. But I have optimism that coming around the corner, the road is going to be smoother and that maybe there's even someone waiting for me there. And I have tried to live my life that way.
Well, and acceptance. Well, but what I think what you're describing, and you tell me if you feel misunderstood, Rich, but what I hear you're telling us that you practice acceptance.
I'm trying.
You might not like that a relationship ends, but by accepting it and grieving it, you open up the possibility for another good thing.
Yeah. I think the big challenge for me, Linda, is understanding how much the grieving process I want to engage in. Should I use that grieving process to completely push that person into the past, or is that denying the opportunity for that person to rejoin me because they make a choice and I'm open to that choice? It's, that's where I've always stumbled is, that, and there is some point where time does heal wounds, and it's so much easier to just say that person's gone. And right now I've got a choice to make. Do I want to be with someone new, or do I want to pine for this person because I need to grieve some more? That's always where I've kind of stumbled.
Well, I think that's a very normal expression of grief, right? Grief does what grief wants to do. And sometimes it kicks our butt.
Oh, yes.
Right. And I just think that's very, very human.
Well, I've got the boot marks on my ass to prove it. Tonya, my dear,
Richard,
my love.
Yes.
As you listen to us, do you think at all that you're grieving something, and perhaps that's why you're still wondering, do I want somebody in my life? Do I not want somebody in my life? Am I ready for it? Have I cleaned out the garage? Because and on the last couple of episodes, we've talked about how you're still pondering all this. Where are you at with all of that?
Oh, no, I'm not grieving anyone.
Okay.
Okay, you know what? Let me think. This just popped into my head. Bringing someone in just simply means I'm giving up my peace. So right. Can I be grieving my peace before I have even given it up? Uh-huh. I know that sounds crazy.
I'm trying to understand it, frankly.
Anyone? It's like, no, I'm not holding on to anyone. I'm not holding on to I'm just holding on to my peace.
All right. And why do you assume cleaning out the garage means someone's going to come in with a truck that's rattly and spitting out, belching out fumes?
I don't assume that. I don't think I assume that. I'm just.
Then why are you giving up peace?
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't want to go down no broken, raggedy roads looking for this good person who's going to come along. I'm just enjoying myself,
right?
Just doing what I do,
right?
As a boss, doing what we do. I'm just floating along happy. You ever know who Pete the cat is? Pete the cat just walking along. Remember Pete the cat? He had on his white shoes. He walked through the red paint. He walked through the mud. He walked through the dirt. He never got upset. He just kept walking along, singing his song. So I'm just Pete the cat. I'm just chilling. And then if someone comes along that it's not that I'm like got my Wonder Woman things up. I'm like fighting people off or anything. I'm just walking along singing my song.
Wristbands of gold.
You're right.
Stay away.
I'm such a chill mode.
Can we ask you a question about your Whoville, Tonya?
What is my Whoville? Tell me what.
Your Whoville is your rules of life, like how you understand the laws of the universe. So maybe, am I hearing correctly that your law of the universe is there's a difference between being alone versus being lonely? And
Definitely.
And you're content.
Exactly.
And you're following your path through life. And if he comes, so be it, but you're not going to compromise to have something.
That's pretty much it. I've always been such a rule follower, such a good girl, such an overthinker, just a planner. And if I get into a relationship with anyone, I'm definitely going to be the one, even just friends. Like I say, if I'm going out to dinner with Linda, and I already know Linda, I want to eat Chinese. Linda's like, I want to eat French. I don't want French, I want Chinese. Guess where we're going to end up? Right where Brenda wants to go, because that's what she wants to do. And I'm just going to go along to get along. So I don't want to put myself in a position to go along and get along. I just want to be Pete the cat, walking along, singing my song, doing exactly what I want to do without any impeding, without discussing anything, without considering anybody's feelings, without caring about anybody other than me. And okay, it could be because I am the oldest sister. I have always never just been responsible. Just my twin sister has so much freedom, y'all. This lady stuff just rolls off her back, stuff that would keep me up at night. And I used to be like, damn, I want to be her when I grow up, because shit really does not bother her. We all know people whose stuff does not bother, right? And the overthinker me, everything bothers me. At 52, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do what I'm doing. And I'm just walking along, singing my song.
With your Pete the cat shoes.
With my white shoes. Walking through mud puddles and paint. So if there's not that I'm blocking anyone, I'm just, he shows up, he does. If he don't, I'm good.
But I just have one question it just kind of stood out at me. So in your world, it kind of sort of means that if you have a relationship or if you have someone, then it immediately means you have no peace, like the two go together. But that's not true, right? Is that something that we tell ourselves? Because we can conserve our peace with someone that understands where you're coming from, who is the right person, and who also appreciates that peace.
But I don't want to work
for themselves.
My peace. I don't want to work to conserve my peace.
It works for you. I say more power to you.
Well,
but does that make sense? You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was kind of in that mode for the most of 2021. I was actually on a phone call with a male friend of mine this afternoon. I said to him, on the scale of 0 to 10, 10 being an absolute non-negotiable, 0 being whatever, where do you stand on wanting, not needing, wanting a woman in your life? And he said, I'm probably around a 7. And I said, last year I was probably like a 5, but right now I'm an 8. I think that, stumbling upon this relationship that I'm in right now and how I'm not going to say it's easy, because we challenge each other. We both challenge the other person. So there is some work involved and there is some compromise involved. But what I'm enjoying about the relationship and the growth that I think I'm going through, and I'm hoping, when she talks to me about it and she says she's going through the same thing, that reaffirms why I put an 8. Because I love this process and this helping each other and having that Linda and I were talking earlier today about how relationships are mirrors, and they're there to teach you something about yourself. They're there to help you see yourself in a way that maybe you couldn't have seen yourself. It was just you looking in the mirror. You're looking at this other person in the mirror. And I think right now I'm really enjoying that. I'm enjoying this person showing me things about my personality that I can improve upon. Just all the things that we have in common, that I'm living more fully now because of her, because she she prods me into doing these things, and I'm having much more fun. And I think, but yet I wasn't that guy a year ago today. A year ago today, I was a 5, and I was a happy 5.
Yeah. Well, makes sense to me. Where are you, Brenda, with your numbers? You're 5, you're 8, you're 7.
I don't know.
Are you Pete the Cat? We walking along together singing our song?
No, I do. I do. I love my peace, but I am actively working on myself, because I would like to have some companionship. But more importantly, I want to make sure that I have done the work before I meet this person. I think that's really my focus. I still believe that this person will come along. I do believe that this person will be spiritually compatible and, and all these things. But I also recognize that I have to do the work.
So in reference to your analogy last week, Brenda, is a good portion of the car still in the garage?
Oh, no. That garage is cleaned out.
It's cleaned out.
Yes, we might have a few bins, but it's, for the most part, it's clean.
Okay.
I think that was a major obstacle, the one I was talking about earlier. I think that was the biggest.
That was the one
obstacle.
that got the jalopy out.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like just a huge shift of energy for you, Brenda. Just to be able to define your role and goal as a co-parent. That's just a big energy shift.
Absolutely. That just a permission, right? Just a permission to say, you know what? You don't have to be more than what you are. You don't have to do all these extra things, because these extra things are probably impeding you from moving forward, and they're not necessary. You're only hurting yourself. Yeah.
Linda, we're going to have to wrap it up. Believe it or not, we're at 50 some odd minutes. Again, it's, there are so many subjects that we've touched on that we barely touched on, some subjects that I'm thinking about in my head that we never even got to because time is quite a precious commodity. So, Linda, can we get a commitment from you to come back in 3 months?
Oh, I love it. I'd be honored. Thank you. Definitely. Before we end, can I give you guys homework?
Sure. We love homework.
Yes.
Just tune into your Whoville. Like, what are your rules of life for the way the world works? And when you notice judgment, maybe just keep track of it and see if you can see patterns where you're judging yourselves or judging others. And that's empowering, because then you can release that.
And I am lucky because Linda and I had a call earlier this afternoon, and she applied that with me, and I did something as a result of that homework that she gave me early this afternoon. And I do feel better because of it.
Oh, you are so sweet. Hey.
Tonya, that was the text message I sent out earlier.
I know. As soon as this camera clocks off, I'm waiting for you to update me on what happened.
I'll let you know. So stick around.
Stop.
You can either hang up or
no.
call
We
me.
can just stop the recording and we're
I gave him a big. We had some good empowerment coaching about.
We did.
Yeah.
And then I called the woman that I'm dating, and I said to her, Linda just had this great call with me, and I just did something.
I'm just waiting for recording has stopped.
Ladies, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you again, Linda.
Thank you, guys.
Linda Wajda, braverlife.com. Onebraverlife.com. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, and on her website. So please visit with Linda online. Get to know her a little better. And I do hope if you have any issues that you will set up a consultation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Be well.
Take care.
Have a good evening.
Yep.